welcome. You're watching Living with COVID. I'm Rishika Barua. Let's introduce you to our panel of expert doctors joining us on this broadcast to help answer questions on how to navigate through this new normal. Dr. Suman Ramachandra, consultant diabetologist from the Madhumeha Diabetic Center in Bangalore, is joining us on the broadcast. We also have Dr. T. Anil Kumar. He's a professor and HOD of the Department of Medicine from the Ramaiah Medical College, also joining us from Bangalore. We also have Dr. Mohan Lal. He's a consultant cardiologist from the JK Medicity Hospital, joining us from Jammu. Appreciate you, doctors, for sparing the time of day to be with us on the broadcast. It's been observed that patients who are suffering from chronic conditions are not yet feeling safe to visit hospitals. They fear that they might contract the infection. Dr. Lal, if I can begin by asking you, what would you like to tell patients? When is it essential that they must visit a hospital or a clinic, and teleconsultation is just not good enough?
Yeah, thank you. As we know, the topic is alive with the corona, so we have to live with the corona. And first of all, we should not be panic and anxious, and because most of the patients are almost normal when they attend to the doctor, and there is a good recovery rate, and the patients are usually asymptomatic. Only few patients will require some treatment, and the few of them, 2 or 3%, will require ICU care. Since the numbers are more, that's why persons become more panicky and they start having anxiety. In case you have any symptoms and a doubt, always contact a doctor and they consult the family doctors, first of all, so that since he already knows you, how you are going on in the past, and take his advice, give him a full information about your previous illness, comorbid conditions, and tell some symptoms which in case you have. In case you have a minor symptoms, telemedicine consultation will be quite good, because that will give you most of your problems of not going out. But in case there is some symptoms and you feel sick and fever, cough, altered sensorium, or the evolutionist of the hands and lips, then chest pain or breathing problem or loss of taste, which is also a symptom of this disease, that time you should always consult doctor. Or in case you lose consciousness, or if there is some accident and then you have to see the patients, then also you should consult the doctor, and don't feel shy of consulting the doctor.
All right, Dr. Ramachandra, would you like to elaborate, upon the kind of safety measures that are taken at clinics and hospitals at this time, and why it is in fact safe for patients who need, a physical consultation with a doctor, why it is safe to actually be able to do so?
Yeah. Well, I would say that, that patients are more worried about, contracting the infection when they visit the doctors. So it's, as a part of it, we should be very careful. In fact, what we say is the minimal chance of exposure has to be really, kept in mind when we just invite the patient. So either this could be, minimal exposure either to the patient or to the staff who are working with us. What I would say is, when we are trying to concentrate more on the patients, we should have, tell them to take a prior appointment. When they take a prior appointment, it's very important for us to classify the patient whether they require an emergency treatment or they are coming for the regular consultation. If they are coming for the regular consultation, keep it to a separate time, whereas emergency cases, keep it to a separate time, so that there is no mismatching of the people. I will also say that, when they call us up, we should update them regarding the procedures what we are following actually. That is, wearing a mask, hand sanitizing, and maintaining social distancing has to be really kept in mind. And also we say them that, don't bring any of your patient attenders unless and until it is really needed. Right. Second thing is, when they come to the hospital, it's very important for us to maintain something called as no-touch techniques of triaging them out, in the sense checking their blood pressure, checking their temperature, making sure that, they are wearing the mask or probably hand sanitizing, and then make sure that, they go and in the waiting area also, the waiting area should be well ventilated. Better not to use any ACs where the cross infections are very high.
Right.
This, if we can really follow across, I think probably we can just avoid the cross infections. Please. Not only that, and staffs also. We should also encourage the staff also to wear the PPEs and encourage them to monitor themselves, teach them about the preventive aspects, and also sanitization of the clinic and also the surfaces where they touch, the apparatus what we use, everything has to be kept clean and fine so that the patients can come easily without any cross infection actually.
All right, Dr. Kumar, what about testing? What about other tests that patients have to go through in the time of a pandemic? Is it safe to go and do your regular testing at this time?
What we follow in our hospital is all patients, for whatever reason they come through the flu clinic. So in the flu clinic, they are triaged into either COVID suspect or non-COVID suspect. They do a self-declaration form. Their saturation is checked and their temperature is checked. And when you are reasonably certain, they are let inside the hospital. So after that, after the patient comes into the clinic, there again we follow certain measures as the previous speaker told. We maintain a safe distance. We use our personal protective equipment such as mask in a hospital. Healthcare workers, it's always preferable to use the best mask, N95 mask, eye protection. And as far as possible, by non-test technique, we decide what are the problems he is facing. If there is any suggestion of COVID, then we try to do a chest X-ray. There is a dedicated chest X-ray machine for suspect patients and sometimes even a CT chest also. The other routine blood tests are done with full PPE by the laboratory personnel. That is eye protection, N95 mask and with gloves and frequent sanitization with alcohol-based sanitizer, 60% alcohol-based sanitizer.
All right, as people move around, people go back to work, as shops and businesses have reopened, we are grappling with a new normal. How safe is it to actually travel to work? Dr. Lal, what are the kind of travel advisories that you would give patients?
First of all, one should, during this COVID era, in case, since it is already increasing day by day, so in case there is a travel requirement is a must, then one should go for it. Otherwise, one should try to keep at home and take all the precautions. But if there is an emergency travel or an elective travel should be avoided, like going to the hill station, going to various marriages, various parties, or functions, which you can do by telephonic consultations and other things. First of all, wherever you are going, you should plan it electively because you don't know which area is red zone, which area is yellow and green zone. And whenever you want to go, try to arrange your own transport facility.
Right.
And you should know that which area you are going. You should use the Setu app so that you can know that the risks of going to that particular place are less and less. And you should use your own vehicle. Try to have 1 or 2 persons in that vehicle. Take your all essential things like eating, water, use your mask, keep one person in the front, keep in the back. And while going to any place, you have to take precautions after reaching the place also. And it should be a short visit. One should try to finish and come back home and take care of the sanitization again. Change your clothes, wash your hands, and take rest. And avoid going to. But there are certain travel advisories already given, like going from one state to another. You might have to quarantine. You might have to take a medical facility. You might be kept there. So you should plan electively and try to avoid air travels nowadays. Try to avoid the railway travels nowadays because you have plenty of persons and you are not sure.
All right. Dr. Ramchandra, would you like to advise people on what are the kind of precautions that they can take to make their office spaces safe and also the protocols that they should follow individually?
Yeah. Basically, what we always tell for the people who are trying to visit their offices back, actually, we say them, make sure that, the entry point has to be kept proper. In the sense, they should wear the mask and come to the offices. And at the entry point, they should have some sort of a temperature checking so that, they are aware of it. And also, we should also keep something called as a self-declaration form, wherein they declare themselves they are fit enough to come and work, or probably they don't have any family members who are suffering from fever or something. So they are fit to work. That is one of the things what we really look in. And second thing is mostly important is hand sanitization. Quite often, maybe something like every 2 hours or 3 hours once, they should hand sanitize themselves. And respiratory hygiene. Maintaining the respiratory hygiene also matters. That is coughing and sneezing. Make sure that the techniques are really taught across. And social distancing also matters, very important. And the work area where they work, make sure that they work in an open environment rather than working in an AC environment where the infection spreads faster. And also, don't travel much. Whenever you go for work, go to one particular place and make sure that you work there and come back. And when you go to the cafeteria area also, when we are trying to sit across, make sure that there is some sort of a barrier wherein you can sit and easily eat without passing on the infection to the other candidate who is sitting opposite to you. These are the measures if you can really follow across. I think the workplace can be made safe for the people to work.
All right, Dr. Kumar, what's the kind of advice that you'd give shopkeepers, chemists or others who are coming in contact with a lot of people on a daily basis? How can they safeguard themselves?
The basic tenets of prevention of COVID-19 is physical distancing. So if there is a distance of about 1 meter between two people, the chances of getting the infection is reduced by 5 times. So if the distance increases up to 2 meters, it further reduces. So the physical distancing is the most crucial thing, whether it is a pharmacy or any other shop. That's the most important thing. And the customer as such should always come with a mask. For a general public, the usual face masks will do. In a pharmacy, because he comes in contact with people who may have the sickness, it's better that they use the N95 mask with eye protection by goggles, and preferably to use non-touch techniques. So they can just keep the medicine, or they can prescribe through electronic prescription, keep the medicine on the counter, and the patient or the attender picks it up, and even the payments can be made by non-touch technique, digital transaction. This takes care of 3 main routes of transmission. One is the aerosol or the droplet infection by physical distancing and mask, and fomite. Transmission by fomites is by having minimal contact.
All right, I think that's a very comprehensive list of recommendations. We're going to, at this moment take a very short break, but our panel of expert doctors will continue to be live with us on the other side and answer all your questions. Stay tuned.
Knowledge Partner, USV, your reliable healthcare partner.
Welcome back. You're watching Living with COVID. We have a panel of expert doctors to answer all your questions on how to live your normal life in the midst of this pandemic. Dr. Lal, if I can come to you at this moment, what's the kind of advice that you'd give, for patients who are suffering from cardiac diseases to safeguard themselves during this time?
Once the corona occurs to a cardiac patient, the symptoms become much more, since the patient is already having some symptoms of cardiac patient. Cardiac patient means any patient who is having a hypertension, ischemic heart disease, angina, patient with a heart failure, patient with a heart enlargement, and those patients who have already undergone angioplasty, stenting, bypass surgery, or various devices, pacemaker-like things. So these patients are more likely to get some infection, and once they get it, they will have a worse outcome. The mortality rate is higher in these patients, and all these patients are usually suffering from some other comorbid conditions like kidney failure, diabetes, old age, on drugs, on so many other comorbid conditions. So the mortality becomes high. So these patients should take more precautions, like any symptoms if they develop at home, they should not shy and not going to the doctor either by teleconsultation or by going to the doctor. Any patient who heart patient gets angina, shortness of breath, or he is not able to walk, or his dose requirement gets increased, or the patient, his blood pressure is not controlled, diabetes is not controlled, he should consult the doctor as soon as possible.
Timely management and identification of problems is also very important, and you should be in regular contact with your doctor and even go and access a physical meeting if you really need to. Dr. Ramachandra, what about patients with diabetes? How can they effectively manage their conditions at home at this time?
Well, we know that diabetes is one of the most important comorbid condition which is linked to the severity of the coronavirus.
Yes.
It has been said off that almost like around 30 to 50% patients who are critical are diabetic. So diabetes management becomes equally critical enough. In fact, we say that if the diabetes is not well controlled, it might lead to other complications like cardiac or blood pressure. That in turn has an extra load on the corona thing. So we always say that we should always keep the diabetes under good control. To achieve that, I would say that home monitoring of the blood glucose is very important. They should keep checking the blood sugars. Not only that, they should also regularly maintain the physical activity. When I talk about physical activity, there's a lot of patients do come back and tell me that, doctor, now it is a pandemic, we are not allowed to go to the parks, what to do? I say that, if you are allowed to do work from home, probably plan for, do exercise from home also is also recommended. So it's very important for us to, find out a way to do the exercises and control our diabetes. Not only that, diet also plays a major role. Make sure that we control the diabetes through the diet also is important. And keeping our stress level, the anxiety as the corona comes and goes up, that can lead to higher blood sugars. So it's important for us to manage as a whole, not just the diabetes. Control everything is very important.
All right, very interesting. Dr. Kumar, if I can come to you at this moment, and we've talked about managing other comorbidities during the time of this pandemic, but could you explain to our viewers how plasma therapy works in managing the COVID-19 disease? Why is it that plasma therapy is being experimented on patients who have severe conditions?
It's not actually something new. Convalescent plasma therapy was tried for Spanish flu nearly 100 years back. So the concept of convalescent plasma is a patient who has been exposed to COVID develops antibodies. The antibodies are what are called as neutralizing antibodies. So it takes some time after recovery. So usually we collect the plasma after 28 or 30 days. So that it has a lot of neutralizing antibodies. These neutralizing antibodies prevent the COVID virus from attacking the cells. So the disease is curtailed. So it's a very old therapy. Actually, it was started for Spanish flu 100 years back. And right now, we have a few small studies where the benefits are shown in some studies and it's quite doubtful in some other studies. But it is a form of therapy. And we should have a large population of people who have recovered. And another important thing is the titers, whatever the antibodies, what we call the titers, should be of sufficient strength, 1 in 640. So it may be difficult to get that level of titers.
All right. While of course it is a wait and watch at the moment, Dr. Lal, would you like to elaborate a little bit on the management of hypertension during the time of a pandemic? It has, been a huge cause of concern among several people.
Basically, the patients, but of heart patients, usually they are having a blood pressure or a hypertension. When the persons get COVID, there is always a tendency that the patient might get a hypotension or a hypertension also. But whenever there is a patient with hypertension and we suspect that there is a COVID likely to be there in that patient, these patients should be managed very efficiently and they should be kept in the hospital for some time so that the blood pressure can be managed properly. If the normal blood pressure is taken as 130/80, because many of these patients are already having hypertension, so they should be controlled adequately at the level which is up to less than 130/80. If they are taking medicine, they should not stop the medicine. If they should be taking a home blood pressure, if the patient is suspected at home, nowadays the home blood pressure or self-determination of blood pressure is being done, so that if the blood pressure is high or if blood pressure is low, both conditions the doctor should be considered as soon as possible. And the blood pressure, whenever there is a hypotension, the patients are symptomatic and they should consult the doctor much earlier rather than waiting for some time. And these patients will be restless, they are agitated, along with the fever and cough. They might get some symptoms which are suggestive of hypotension. They persist with low blood pressure in the COVID in the hospital. So they should be managed as a normal patient of the blood pressure. And there are certain drugs which there was some confusion whether you should continue with the ACE inhibitors or a receptor blocker, which we usually give in a patient with hypertension and heart disease. So they should continue these medicines rather than stopping the medicine.
So that's very crucial advice right there. Dr. Ramachandran, what about patients who are managing gestational diabetes at home? Any specific advice that you would give them? Any specific precautions that they need to take?
Yes, gestational diabetes is a diabetes which they develop during the pregnancy. As it is, pregnancy itself is a high load on the ladies, and probably they really wanted to consult the doctor quite often. There will be an antenatal checkup which is happening, and probably they need to monitor the diabetes. They need to control the diabetes much well. In fact, we always recommend these patients to make sure that they check the sugars every day. Everyday monitoring is also very important. And we always tell them not to come to the clinic actually. They can really stay back and probably do some sort of a teleconsultation, because the clinics right now, it is not safe for them people to come because their cross-infection chances are very high. So it's important for us to monitor them over online, do a sort of a teleconsultation. And in fact, what we say is this is a stress period. So doing some sort of an yoga can bring down their anxiety level. So thereby also helps in controlling the diabetes, and monitoring it every day and just keeping in touch with the doctor can really do a lot benefit to this gestational diabetic patient actually.
All right, Dr. Kumar, very last question to you. Breathlessness is a common symptom of the coronavirus. How can patients who are suffering from asthma distinguish between what is regular asthma-induced breathlessness and what is a symptom of COVID-19?
Asthma is a chronic disease which the patient would have experienced over many years. But this COVID-19 is a symptom complex. There is fever, there is cough, there are other symptoms like loss of smell, loss of taste. But if you ask me, what is the most important distinguishing feature after having seen hundreds of COVID patients, what they say is, this is not my usual asthma attack. That's
Right.
the impression because of the chills, the body pain, and the fever. They can make out most of the time that it's not their usual asthma attack. Then there are tests, of course. You do a chest X-ray, sometimes you do a CT, you find the shadows, and there are a lot of blood tests. But more clinically, on the first visit, most of the time the patient is able to tell that it's not his usual asthmatic attack.
All right. So patients usually, who do suffer from these symptoms can distinguish between the two. I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Appreciate you, doctors, for sparing the time of day and answering our questions so very patiently. And thank you so much for being with us on the show.
Knowledge Partner, USV, your reliable healthcare partner.